Thanks for joining. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is the president of the South Florida Police Benevolent Association, Steadman Stahl. Welcome, and thank you for coming back.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Certainly in the last 15 months, we've all learned to appreciate first responders, right? Firemen and policemen,
Yep.
and correction officers as well. It's certainly been traumatic for just about everybody in the country with the pandemic. And before we talk about that and the response by the police, let's talk about the travesty over in Surfside. And
Yes.
My hats off and my blessings to all the people and their families whose lives apparently at this point are lost. We see police around there all the time. What is that like for the policemen who are the first responders that are out there dealing with the families and the people that are there digging up everything?
It's heart wrenching. First of all, when the officers were there, got there that night that it happened, it's you learn a lot of things in the police academy, but a collapsed building is not something that you do. It was a very overwhelming experience for the first responding officers that got there. And then as you go through it, you have to realize that there's a lot of lives in there and a lot of stuff like that. And then the whole world has been responding, not only through first responders. We have people coming from Israel right now that are helping through the digging process and stuff like that. It's maintaining a perimeter around that spot. The media presence there is unbelievable, like I've never seen before.
So the stress for the people that are responsible, not for the victims and the victim's family, must be just overwhelming to have to know that everybody there is on edge, that is exhausted, they're distraught, they're grieving, and they're wondering about themselves and about their lives. So what are some of the police officers saying to you?
It not to take life so such for granted. I mean, who would ever thought that you're going to go to bed and then you don't wake up? And so it puts perspective for them. It's very difficult too what they're going through right now. Not only the firefighters right now are the ones that are digging into that kind of stuff like that, but our homicide detectives are the ones that are going through and seeing some of the bodies that come out and some body parts. I hate to say it, it does take a toll on you. It's hot, it's dirty, you've got tremendous rainstorms, electrical storms that are coming through. You're under, aluminum tents. But there is a psychological thing when you start to see these, and what we're concerned with is it's like PTSD. These are some of this, when we dealt with the FIU bridge collapse, those are just things that, the family members that are out there that they're grieving and you want to help them. They're saying they want to get in there. They want to help dig and stuff like that. And it's not moving quick enough for some people and stuff like that, but it's a very unsafe scene. I mean, if you go there, you won't be able to get there close, but I've been out there every day. The building is buckling. That left standing. And so you're digging down there and this building is starting to buckle, the part that's still standing up, and they can't, you're got those concerns with, but it does take a big mental toll on the officers.
So as you're describing this, I'm just trying to, fathom what it looks like. The grief that I'm feeling about this building falling and all these people are gone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so we know with the pandemic that there's this mental health issue that is active, right?
Yes.
Very active, right? And we know when the kids go back to school and the separation anxiety starts again, that it's going to be traumatic. But so these police officers have been dealing with, and firemen have been dealing with the pandemic for a year and a half, right?
Yes.
And so now they're dealing with this over here. And how many police officers are rotating through there on a daily basis?
They're saying 100. I believe it's more than that. It's probably about 150 every 12 hours. We're shifting them in there. Now we have other municipalities that are also helping out. The fire rescue right now, they're still in the recovery rescue stages of trying to find if there's anybody still alive in there. But the perimeters are out there, and we've got about 100, 150 officers out there at any given time in different areas and stuff like that. You have to watch along the beach lines, and as every day goes by, they're having to put up new fences, new barriers to deal with the people around it. And there's people that are living in buildings right next door to it that you have to make sure they have access to get to it. And they're watching it too.
Just when you thought that it'd be safe to go outside and start participating in life again. And then this terrible tragedy happens. And
The pandemic, prior to this, I mean, the number one killer of police officers was across the country was the PTSD, people taking their lives and stuff like that. Then we go into a pandemic, which just about shuts everything down, and nobody can see. You have to wear a mask all the time, and we're finally coming out of that. We've just held our first an event that was overwhelming. People were just glad to see the human interaction, where you didn't have to wear the mask. And this is the first conversation I think I've had with you I don't have to look through glass to look at you. And and you look great. You look great, by the way. The glass shield that we had there for a while and stuff like that.
They used to say to me, Michael, that shirt, it doesn't reflect well through the glass. I go, well, one day we're going to take that down. So lots of people are not familiar with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I think that one of the things that a lot of us can relate to is when we think about Hurricane Andrew and you talk about it, you can watch the people that went through it go through it. You can see their facial expressions changing. Yes. And so as traumatic as that was, certainly the experience of these people today is certainly a lot more, but it doesn't take away from the symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So what are some of the things that we as human beings should look for with our friends that are involved in this type of recovery right now?
Well, I think right now, the ones that are dealing with the recovery right now, and not just this, because again, it was a leading cause of death for it, but as we go through the pandemic and stuff like that, things that I look for is depression on people. They start to get more recluse. They kind of put themselves in. They're no longer getting active with people and stuff like that. Short-tempered. People getting bad tempers.
So far we're doing pretty good.
Yeah,
here.
Well, we have nothing here, so we're staying positive. I think the biggest thing you're trying to do, and I think that, and what I've seen with some of the media, obviously, that there's just so much negativity out there, and I think people are starting to realize that. I think that's why even some of these cable stations are having trouble with ratings, and the news is having because there's just so much negativity that's coming out that people are just getting away from it. Netflix is booming right now because people are just going to movies to stay away from things like that.
One of the great things that happened recently, we got a new TV with new remote control, and it's really easy to get it on Netflix. And I didn't even ask my wife for a month how to take it off because they made a decision. Don't watch that other stuff, right? Yes. Just find a thing here that you like, all right? And I'm realizing how we get sucked into our psyche, and there's an old saying, if it bleeds, it leads, all right?
Yes.
And so there's so many options for people nowadays, right? That we can choose to do that, understanding our addictions to being stimulated. We know there's the other side of that,
right?
Which is, oh my goodness, it's bombarding us over and over and over again. So we all need to be careful of what we expose ourselves to. And music, one of the beautiful medicines of the world, the universe. Find some great music and listen to it and get that into your head.
Listen, I Sirius Radio. I've just gotten on this. I'll pay extra now just to get those commercials away from me in the news stations and find that good 70s and 80s station that you like, and you drift into it. Just get away from that negativity.
So one of the things that we made a decision a year and a half ago was how are we going to stay connected to the people in the community? Because most people were staying at home. We stayed open through the whole pandemic. We had some people working from home. We had essentially a pretty strict protocol in the building. People all separated. We had shower curtains, if you will, divided. And we said, okay, all right, that's your office. We moved it over there. And then we had this right here. And we didn't have one case of COVID in the building. All right. Wow. So we count our blessings. But it was really the connection that we realized that people want with other people in a positive and productive way. And one of our earlier guests here were the folks from the South Dade Chamber of Commerce. They were the first chamber to hold meetings. They in big farmlands. They would go out and they could do it all over, and it wasn't in an office setting. And so they actually led the way. All right, and their model, all right, that they did with South Dade Chamber with their events there and here caused Coral Gables Chamber, Doral, now Aventura, Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest, Cutler Bay, and Kendall to have their programs here and to be able to reach people in a positive way. So we realized by that response that people want that. They just
Yes.
don't know where to go to get it, right?
Yes.
And we see how many people, our favorite place is Big Cheese, in case you hadn't figured that out, right?
Mine too.
Right? There were 25 people waiting outside to get in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so people are anxious to return to some sense of normalcy. They're happy that they're alive, and we're waiting for the next big phase is really the kids going back to school, which is going to be around the corner.
Correct.
So what does that the kids going back to school mean to the local police and the guards, the school guards,
school resource officers,
Yes.
and stuff like that? It's the school system is going to have to come up how they're going to do it. My son goes to public schools. He goes to South Dade, and they were shutting down. He'd go back and he'd be in school for 2 days, and then somebody would test positive. They would send him back home, and went back and forth. So I hope they have a good plan for how they're going to return to it. But I think the officers interacting with the people, I don't want to go back to the surf side thing too much, but there is a good humanity thing that I'm seeing. You see 8 officers from different agencies that are out there. You see people coming out there, business owners that are just want to keep giving. And I'm seeing a lot more hugs lately, that we can get back to hugging people that we couldn't do that for about a year and a half. We got to the fist bumps and stuff like that. And we're still not quite sure, are we supposed to do that or not? And I think as the police, we're going to get, we're doing things that we've never done before. We're much more active in the community, as in the departments, through, coffee with the cops and stuff like that. And I think we're going to start getting back into that a lot more, which is very, very important. And that's some of the stuff that I'm hoping that with the kids and everything, get them back into.
We at the end of April, Mayor Cava, first woman mayor here in Miami-Dade County, was our first speaker at our startup breakfast, the Constant Keeper here in South Miami. And so I was wondering what people would do, whether they would respond. And then so we said, make sure you comply with CDC regulations, whatever that meant at that point. And then you realize when people saw each other face to face, and it's like, okay, what do I do? And then you saw people starting to hug each other. My goodness, there it is.
It's back.
Yes,
we're back.
And do you have any grandkids?
Yes, I got 2. I got 2.
Isn't it wonderful to be able to say, gee, I can give them a hug. I'll only get a cold. I'm not going to get COVID.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So we know that people want to connect. And unfortunately, there's lots of people over in Miami Beach that are connecting for the first time there with the tragedy that's there. But we realize that we do want human touch. It's part of what we want as living organisms.
Yes.
And we see in nature, that's its purpose, right? We had the executive director of mosquito control here from Miami-Dade County. And I said, what is the purpose of a mosquito? And he says, to reproduce.
True.
And it's like, that's the purpose. So we get to, as human beings, be able to have all those emotions that are connected to living and to be able to hug.
And I think that's what we saw too during the COVID thing, that when they were starting to slowly break down those restrictions, and I think that's what led up to a lot of the some of these civil unrest that we were starting to see around the country, that people are finally starting to be able to come back out, and they were cooped up. The Floyd situation certainly didn't help, but I think they just got out. And even here, you were trying to, I think I had talked with the old mayor, and I just said, open up the beaches. At least they have a place to go instead of just through Wynwood or down one boulevard or something like that. Because people are meant to explore. That's how we, so it's in our system.
So we realized that, and one of the things they did is the county opened up the marinas. So one day I'm over in Key Biscayne going this whatever, and this is South End. There was a line of at least 100 vehicles to get their boats in the water. Went to lunch, came back. There was still a line of about 20. That's how much people want to be out there. So we know that people are out there and wanting to reconnect. So what's the PBA going to do in the next couple months to accelerate the touching and the get-togetherness that people want?
For us, the PBA, just for our members alone, we did a fishing tournament. We did 2. We did one. We held one up here at Masson Hammock. We had about 30 boats. We probably had a couple hundred people that actually came out there just to watch the fish being weighed in. We thought that was going to be a little bit.
Did you run over to Winn-Dixie first and then go back?
Well, we went to Publix. We went to Publix first. We had to hit the Publix and we had some food and stuff like that in there. And then we had another one just this last week, and they had one down to Key West. Our Key West police officers in Monroe County, they just did one. they had a very similar turnout, and the local businesses were just glad. The hotel that they were, the marina that they were using, were just glad to have people back in there using it.
So the PBA serves members from Key West to Aventura.
Yes, we represent the Key West police officers. We represent in Monroe County, both the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and the deputies down there. Throughout Miami-Dade County, we represent the Miami-Dade Police Department being the largest, to many of the municipalities from Florida City, Homestead, Aventura, Miami Gardens, or just to name a few that we represent.
So you do Palmetto Bay?
Palmetto Bay, yes, but Palmetto Bay is they contract Miami-Dade County police officers. But
Okay.
Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay are both contracted through the Miami-Dade County.
And so for Miami-Dade County and the Kendall area, which people
Yes.
keep asking me what it is, and I go, I don't know, from Bird to 152nd, from here to there. All right. That is Miami-Dade County officers.
Yes. We wear the brown uniforms.
Yes.
Another state troopers, but we have the brown uniforms.
And over the years, Kendall was one of the few areas that never wound up having real big conversations about incorporation. I know last go around it got killed, even though there was
Yes.
approved to become a city. There's so many things that are going on now. I don't think that's on the map, unless you know something.
No, listen, I think right now, we just had, for the first time, you had 7 new county commissioners. We had term limits, that were implemented that just went into the first phase. And there were some sad things about term. You lose some really good people, but I think the 7 that have come on have been very active. I know you've had a few of them on your show. Yes. They're reading contractors. If you're a developer trying to sneak plans through, I think they're hitting the wall when they meet Cohen Higgins and Raquel Regalado. They are reading those things. And I live down south, and they're trying to, it's a blank canvas down there in Homestead and that Florida City area. It's a blank canvas. And once you build it, you only get one shot at it.
Yep.
And that all that area around the Air Force Base, there's a huge Amazon that's coming down there. It's going to take more police services. It's going to take more officers and stuff like that. So these annexations and the corporations that they were talking about, I think they're going to be probably put on hold for a while, but you don't know. And then we have, and so the 7 remaining commissioners, their terms end next year, and that's going to be another big change. And then we're creating 4 new governments in Miami-Dade County. The voters approved it.
Which are?
The tax collector is going to, which we already have one, but he's going to have more of the autonomy. You're going to have a property appraiser, which we already have. Department of Elections is going to have an election supervisor, and then you're going to have the sheriff as being
and that's
the
going to be an
biggest
elected
one.
position.
Yes. Now think about this. This is some of the questions I've been talking to the commissioners are. You're going to have an elected election supervisor. That the election will be in November, and they take over in January. That's not much of a turnaround time. Right now, the Miami-Dade Police Department, they've already got things in place that they're trying to address it and how we're going to handle it. What's the responsibilities are going to be of the sheriff and stuff like that.
So we've sheriff traditionally down here was Broward County Sheriffs.
Yes.
So what is the top officer here? I'm not talking about the mayor, but that
would be the director. His name
director.
is Freddie Ramirez, doing a very good job in a very difficult situation.
So does that mean that the director name will be gone and it'll be the sheriff?
It'll be a sheriff. Now, technically on their flow charts right now, they show sheriff, but the way our government is formed, that the fire director is the mayor. The sheriff would be technically the mayor. They're going to have their own autonomy. Now, the fire department may be separate. They'll still have a fire chief, and he'll answer to the mayor and stuff like that. But it's the sheriff's responsibility. And so they're still trying to figure out what's the role of the sheriff going to be, because the sheriff does have certain responsibilities through the Constitution, but they could create their own separate department. I know that's been talked about.
And that's going to be a 4-year term.
That'd be 4-year terms elected by the people countywide.
What's that job going to pay nowadays?
It's based on the population. I don't know. It's going to be more than our director now is making. I can tell you that. We have, I'm not sure how many directors are, but the 2 highest liabilities. The highest liability for directors are police and fire, and they're the lowest paid directors in the entire county. I'm not here to negotiate their contracts, but it's something that needs to be addressed and stuff like that.
And one of the great things that happen with new elected officials, you can try to find that balance.
Yes.
All right, because the other people, whoever they happen to be, they're okay with what it was, or even if they had tried and they couldn't get it done. The new people, they've got a lot of spunk. All right.
Yes.
And they're going to have, a couple thousand days, if they get reelected. And my hat's off to the county commission, although I had wished there would have been an election for Higgins Cohen, but she's a commissioner. God bless her. make a difference, which I know that,
Yep.
that she is. And so tell me about the police officers in Doral, right? They work for the city of Doral, and then some of those members, do I have that right?
Yep.
Are they join the South Florida Police Benevolent Association?
Yes, so we have like Doral, the different municipalities that we represent: Doral, Sweetwater, Miami Gardens. So when they get hired, we represent them and we negotiate their contracts. We represent them in disciplinary actions that may arise from in the line of duty work to administrative discipline that they may get or not get. We also do, but just not, that's more the administrative part of it, but we do scholarships for the members. We're very active in different social events. We help them in times of need through a love fund that we have, that we raise money for.
And people can find out about PBA, go to your site. What is your website?
Our South Florida PBA, it's South Florida.
Like go right on Google.
They Google that right on and get on there and see it.
So, and you also represent correction officers?
We do. We represent the correction officers, which are really they're the best of the best that look out over the worst of the worst. I mean, they're really a difficult job, and they're having a real big tough time out there too. They had 4 officers that had passed away from COVID. I think that was the highest in the state. I think we tied Broward, not a record that we wanted to be anywhere near. But we lost 4 to the COVID. We also represent the 911 the call takers, our dispatchers. We represent animal services, and we also represent the Department of Ethics.
So let's talk about animal services.
Yes.
I got to tell you, when
Sure.
you realize, we're old enough to remember it used to be called animal control,
Yep.
right? It's animal services now. It's still mosquito control. We got that life. And we look at the success that the county has had and the people that are so devoted that work for that department and keeping those dogs and cats alive. It's over 90% of the dogs that wind up going through their system, all right, wind up living, and the same with the cats. Lots of times if people call up, correct me if I got it wrong, guys, I want to turn my dog in. What type of dog is it? Okay, we have a rescue police that will contact you. It's in the 93% range. They go out of their way to help dogs that have been hurt. All right.
Yes, they do.
There was a little dog, Rue, I think is the dog's name. Little dog about this big with no front feet. They're training the dog to use a little cart.
Yes.
And David Singer, you said you were going to donate some money, $250, animal services.
Hey, listen, they're a great bunch of. I've got a rescue dog. I didn't realize how hard it is to get a dog. You go over there. We were looking at my son during the COVID thing. He kind of got locked down, and while I'm working and stuff like that, so we went there. It took me almost 2 months to get a dog, and I actually got one. And from there, and from animal services, but it was just there are a lot of great groups out there that make sure that they take those dogs out. They can take them for a week or so, and then keep that human contact. But they do a great job. Animal Services does a great job. It's a great facility. If you're bored, take a walk over there and walk through and see some of those animals. It'll break your heart. You'll probably walk out with one.
Yeah, that's why I don't go there. And they also have fostering. And,
yes, they do.
They need cuddlers for the little
yes.
kitties, and it's really extraordinary.
If you have kids, that they need volunteers all the time to help different things.
So when's your next PBA event, and where's that going to be?
The next one we'll be in October. We're going to do a dominoes tournament, and we're going to raise the money for American Cancer Society. We do a pink themed domino tournament. In September, we're going to do a St. Michael's Mass. We'll let you know about it, and your folks out there. We do it up at Our Lady of Guadalupe up in Doral, and we have it's a special. It's like a blue mass we do, and we have the Archbishop Tom Lewinsky is going to be to make sure that we all. And you don't have to be Catholic. It's open to all denominations, and we'd love to have anybody come to it.
I was at a funeral a couple of years ago, and the minister said, "We're going to do a prayer now. So on whatever level you would like to join us, please do."
Yes.
And when she said that, it was like so warming. It's just like, it's wonderful. So when you said whatever it is, come over, because that's what we want. We want to feel welcomed wherever.
Absolutely. You could be Jewish of any faith. Everybody's welcome there. But they do a mass there. We just put a good positive message out there. I think a church is a lot, or whatever your religious thing is. It's you go like once a week. It's kind of like charging your battery.
Yes.
You go on a Sunday and you get to some power put into you a little bit, and you need to go every Sunday to just keep that battery charged.
So, and if you don't like to do that, you can go down to the Redland, drive around, walk around, go into some of those nurseries, get your boots dirty, guys. Get on the golf cart and drive through there.
The Futures orchids down there and stuff like that.
Yes.
And Robert is here if you want to get a nice milkshake down there. And
by the way, my wife used to teach a volunteer at the prison across the street there. She did that for 8 years, and the pandemic came. She didn't do that there, so she does that here now. And she went from 20 people a month, we have 5 minutes left, 20 people a month to about 18,000 people a month. Right?
Great.
And it's just incredible. And in the small world that it is, the rabbi that she works with, his uncle was my wife's teacher 45 years ago in another town.
Wow.
And so we are all connected somehow through that. And so, and volunteering is a very good way to do that. I know you must feel good, you and your staff,
yes,
as far as providing care, not just for the officers, but for the community and keeping that connection.
And listen, we're out there, and we are part of this community. We are moms and dads, we're brothers and sisters, we're t-ball coaches, we're football coaches, we are tied in this community at all levels. And that's the thing that I'm very proud about, the officers, the correction officers, our dispatchers, animal service, everybody we represent. And you don't even have to be a member. Well, if you find yourself in a time of need, give us a call. We'll come out there. Sometimes it's just a phone call. I've sat with many people at Denny's and just listen to how we can help them.
We did a couple shows with the folks from National Alliance of Mental Illness, and we did a couple shows. And at one point, after the second show, Susan, who's the executive director, said to me, "I'd like my son to come on the next show." And he had a break about 10 years ago, so he came on, and I thanked him for trusting us enough. And he had written a song with his friend, and he sang it and to the guitar, is "You Are Not Alone."
Yes.
I couldn't quite figure out what the words were because I was crying so much.
Yes.
As this guy is singing that, and you could feel his struggle on that. He wanted to be with somebody. He wanted to know that somebody is out there that needs a helping hand. So if a police officer needs a helping hand, they feel free to call you.
Feel free to call us, and all of us. I've got a great staff, and we've got a great executive board of directors, members out there that we're there to help anybody, any place. I know the department does it. It's just, and I've said this before. If you see a police officer out there, a correction officer, tell them thank you. That those small acts of kindnesses make a big difference, and we're here for them. We're here that when you call us in your time of need, we're here. We're here for that.
So one of the things that people say, "Oh, if you give, you get it back." We give because it's a good thing to do.
It is.
Right? And the good feelings that you get from doing that sometimes are really tremendous. There was I was at a funeral, right? And the bereaved gave me some money to give to the minister. And then he gives it to me, and I went to give it to him. He says, "No, I don't want it." I said, "Please." I said, because he wants to be able to do that, to show, right, that he appreciates the work that you've done. So sometimes we need to reach out and to be able to give something. In this case, it happened to be money, but in the bigger picture, it's an appreciation for what we do.
Yes.
And I do appreciate the police officers in Miami-Dade County, in particular here in South Miami. If I have a problem, I know, depending on where they are, 45 seconds, a minute and a half, they will be here. Right?
It's funny. I just saw a commercial. Chick-fil-A had just done a commercial. I don't know if you've seen it yet. And it's inside their store, and there's like somebody coming up to order something, and they have like a little above their head. This girl's father just died. And then there's a lady drinking a cup of coffee by herself, and she says her husband just passed away. So there's a lot of things that goes through people's lives. And sometimes even when you're going through the drive-through and you get the person that seems to be a little snappy at you, or instead of firing back at them, they're probably having a bad day, and we try to move on with it. And so I find that if you just when you feel that vein in your neck popping, I've learned to disengage, walk away. It'll be gone in minutes.
And it is amazing how a police officer could be involved in a chase.
Sure.
And then when they catch the guy, they just get him and they put their hand on their head and put him back. They be careful, and it's like, wow. The rest of us who don't go through that and go, we'd be beating them to pulp, right? But you can see you know, that how they can maintain themselves.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of training and a lot of discipline to be able to do that.
Listen, just know that your officers that are coming out, in fact, we're going to have a class graduating for Miami-Dade County on July 15th, and there's going to be another 40 crime fighters going out there. They're coming out better trained than I was trained. They're coming out, you can see the glow on them. Some of the older officers, they're looking to retire. We were seeing a lot more people retiring because we have a thing called the drop of retirement that you could stay on another 5 years. People are just leaving as soon as they get their 25 years in. They're just walking away from the profession, which is bad for us, and I think it's going to hurt us. But it's refreshing to see these young officers that are coming out of the academy smiling. They got a glow to them, and they're making a difference.
Stay there 25, 30 years. We'll appreciate it.
Yes.
Steadman Stahl, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for what you're doing, and keep up the good work.
And again, our producer today is Howard over there. Howard, thank you so much.
Thank you, Howard.
And folks, thank you very much for your time. Again, this is Live with Miami's Community News. See you later.